Morning, Prime Minister. Good, thank you. It's a good news day in regards to the Gordie Howe Bridge. What can you tell us anything about it in terms of the background negotiations? Were there any concessions made?
No, it's positive news. Obviously, the bridge will be open at the end of the week, and a symbol, but also a fact of cooperations between our countries. Great for Canadians going across the border, Americans coming across the border, and for commerce. And I just want to salute those who constructed it on both sides, and looking forward to getting it done.
Do you think a social media ban will protect Canadian children?
I can't comment on that because it's not yet before the House.
Do you think it will protect children?
We are, as I said last week, with respect to AI specifically, the government will be taking steps to protect people's data, their privacy, and their children. So that is a focus of this government. Merci. Okay, how are you?
Should we read anything into the state of Kuzma talks with the opening of the Gordie Howe Bridge?
Yes, hi everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Bonjour tout le monde. Ça me fait plaisir de vous voir. Hier, j'ai participé à la conférence de Montréal, conférence sur les relations internationales. Et puis, j'ai eu l'occasion de rencontrer mon homologue européen. Nous avons parlé comment on peut intégrer davantage notre économie à celle de l'Europe. Et je pense qu'on est sur la voie d'avoir justement de bons résultats. Et j'ai également rencontré le ministre de l'Industrie et le ministre des Finances de la France pour augmenter la coopération entre la France et le Canada. Donc, ça me fait plaisir de répondre à vos questions là-dessus. So, yesterday I was participating in the Montreal conference, conférence de Montréal. It was a good opportunity for me to be able to work with my European counterpart, Stéphane Séjourné, and we're working on getting closer to the EU, making sure that we can create a better trading partnership, partly at a time when we're dealing with a trade war. I also met with my counterpart from France, and we are also working on becoming closer to France, particularly at a time where we're dealing with the impacts of tariffs on both sides of the ocean. So looking forward to answering your
J'aimerais
questions.
savoir qu'est-ce que vous pensez de la sortie de Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon qui affirme que si le PQ est élu, retirerait le Québec du projet de TGV.
Moi, je pense que les Québécois sont tannés de voir que en France, c'est possible d'avoir des TGV, mais au Québec, c'est pas possible. Et je pense que dans un Québec moderne et dans un Canada moderne, on est capable de construire des grandes choses. On est capable d'avoir un train à haute vitesse et on est capable de relier les 4 villes les plus importantes du Québec via un train à grande vitesse. Et ça va être l'objectif du gouvernement.
De toute façon, le Québec ne pourrait pas se retirer.
Mais pas juste ça, le Québec ne met pas d'argent. Donc, fondamentalement, la province ne met pas de financement, c'est le gouvernement fédéral qui le fait. Ça va créer 50 000 nouveaux emplois et je suis convaincue que de par mes conversations avec la ministre Fréchette, de par mes conversations aussi avec tant de personnes au Québec, on veut être capable de bâtir des grandes choses et c'est un beau projet. On va bien faire les choses. Je comprends la situation à Mirabel. Je suis moi-même petite fille d'expropriée de Mirabel. Je sais que le tracé va être dévoilé beaucoup plus tard cette année. Le but, ça va être justement de pouvoir bien compenser, mais aussi d'avoir en tête les réalités terrain et on travaille très fort avec le ministre des Transports là-dessus.
Il y a beaucoup de déficit d'investissement dans les infrastructures au Québec, le problème avec ça. La question, c'est de savoir, est-ce que c'est le moment de mettre autant d'argent, autant de milliards, alors qu'il y a des feux qui brûlent un peu partout?
On est capable de faire les deux. On est capable de s'occuper de nos infrastructures. On vient de signer une entente de 10 milliards de dollars avec le Québec pour plus d'hôpitaux, plus d'écoles, des meilleures routes. On arrête les nids de poules. Je sais, je viens de Montréal. Comme tout le monde, je suis sur les rues. Dans ma circonscription, on est tanné, on veut les régler. En même temps, on est capable de faire des grands projets. On est capable de réaliser des grandes choses. On a un consortium qui est créé avec la Caisse de dépôt, avec Aken-Urialis, une grande compagnie canadienne, puis en plus avec la SNCF, qui est une compagnie française. Là, on va le faire, puis on va bien le faire.
Premier Ford is in Washington right now promoting Fortress America. Is he the best ambassador for Canada right now in trade talks, given the fact that it was his commercial that derailed progress?
Well, I have a super good relationship with Premier Ford. I think that we're standing shoulder to shoulder to counter the impacts of the tariffs. The tariffs are really, really hurting a lot of Ontarians and a lot of Canadians. And I think it's important that we talk to American leaders across the U.S. I'll be going to the U.S. this summer. There will be many of us that will be going, as of course there is the revision of the USMCA.
Last question.
You want to keep talking on CUSMA? What's your sense of where the U.S. is at?
Well, of course, Minister LeBlanc is continuing his work, which is important. And meanwhile, I'm dealing with the impacts of tariffs, and we are supporting a lot of businesses that are dealing with the unpredictability, but also with massive tariffs, and we'll continue to fight for them.
Et est-ce que vous allez aller à l'inauguration du pont Gordie Howe?
Did Canada have to pay the U.S. any compensation to get the Gordie Howe Bridge open?
It's not a file that falls under my responsibility. I refer you to the minister on that.
Consultations on Billy Bishop that are happening. Can you tell us about what's going on, what you guys hope to accomplish with that?
Yeah, well, we want to listen to the voice of Toronto, people in the GTA, users of the airport, people who live close, and people who depend on that service. There are people all over Canada, Northern Ontario, medical, medevac type situations. It's an extremely multifaceted issue. We want to make sure we hear all the views.
What if there's significant pushback, Minister? What if there's significant pushback on Billy Bishop expansion? Will you basically stop it? Is that something that your government can do?
I'm not going to prejudge anything. We want to, as I just said, this is a multifaceted issue, and we want to make sure we hear all the views.
Allez-vous être à l'inauguration du pont Gordie Howe, M. MacKinnon?
Non, c'est pas un dossier qui relève de mon ministère, donc je vous réfère au
J'ai
ministre.
peut-être une question concernant quelque chose qui relève de votre ministère. Il y a la sortie de Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon tout à l'heure qui a dit que si le PQ était élu, il retirait carrément le Québec du projet de TGV. Qu'est-ce que vous pensez de ces commentaires?
Je pense qu'on planifie un projet du 21e siècle, un projet qui relie les 4 plus grandes villes du Québec. C'est une épine dorsale de la mobilité au Québec et qui le relie aussi aux grandes métropoles en Ontario, qui touche à 40% de la population canadienne, qui ajoute 51 000 emplois et 3,5% à notre PIB. C'est un projet porteur, un projet qu'ils ont réussi dans bien des pays, dont la France notamment, qui est notre partenaire dans ce projet-là. Je pense que, comme exemple, les agriculteurs en France vont très très bien et cohabitent bien avec ce grand système de mobilité. Ah, ça, il va falloir lui poser la question. Je rencontre déjà beaucoup d'agriculteurs. Je ne suis pas au courant de... Mais j'ai rencontré l'UPA, j'ai rencontré la Fédération des agriculteurs de l'Ontario. Je continue de rencontrer des gens. Yeah, well, the system that is designed to detect such occurrences worked. We'll, of course, take all those kinds of situations very, very seriously. We'll review the chronology, make sure improvements, if there are any, will be made and made quickly. But I am gratified that we were able to detect this issue and get it dealt with quickly.
Si un gouvernement au Québec qui refuse le projet de TGV, est-ce que le projet va quand même se faire?
Ben, soyons clairs, il n'y a pas de projet Alto sans le Québec. Donc, c'est clair.
How quickly do you think to move online harms through the House? You say this is a priority for your government. How expeditiously do you think this can realistically move, considering the history of past attempts?
Yeah, well, this is a very important issue. I'll let the minister speak to the substance. It's a priority bill for the government.
Why is it different this time? Why do you think the process of it succeeding is better, the possibility?
I think there's a great realization in society that there are negative effects from social media use, maybe particularly among our youth. And this bill, when it's tabled, will seek to address that.
Are you going to try to get this done before the House rises?
I don't think there's enough time on the clock left to finish that process now.
Does it help that they're a majority now? Is that why the bill might pass this time?
Pardon me?
Does it help that you're a majority now? Is that why the bill might pass this time?
I think this is a very important societal debate. I don't view it through the lens of, tactics and votes in the House of Commons. I think it's a very, very important debate that Canadians must have. Thank you.
Can you speak just broadly? We know you can't speak about specifics about online harms bill since it's been put in the white paper, but just broadly, can you talk about the effort to coordinate with other countries? The Prime Minister said today G7 talked about.
Look, the focus, though this is an issue that's playing out globally, is uniquely domestic in my view. Of course, there are service providers, companies all over the world who are engaged, but our motivation is really to ensure that we're being responsible when it comes to protecting kids in particular.
How do you balance safety and free speech?
Sorry, do you mind if I ditch this with you for a second? I don't necessarily view safety and free speech to be at odds with one another. We live in a complex world where people need to be able to freely express themselves, but we also recognize that there's a unique responsibility to ensure that there are harms that we are aware of, that we're hearing about from teachers, from the medical profession, from parents that we need to address. But you don't have to give up your freedoms in order to ensure that people can live safe in a society. Our entire constitutional structure is based upon the idea that we recognize that there are some reasonable limits that we can insist upon to live in a free and democratic society. Those limits are designed to maximize everyone's freedom to enjoy their rights. And I can tell you, when you're meeting with the parents who are dealing with a child who's been bullied, not only in the schoolyard, but when they come home at night, it doesn't feel particularly free for that kid living their life day to day. These principles are not at odds, they are complementary in my view. Je vais essayer. La même chose? OK. Selon moi, le principe n'est pas en conflit. Nous habitons dans une société qui respecte les libertés pour assurer à tout le monde l'habilité pour avoir une perspective, pour discuter leurs idées avec des autres personnes. Mais en même temps, nous avons besoin de protéger les personnes qui sont plus vulnérables dans ces circonstances, incluant des jeunes. Quand nous avons l'habilité pour protéger les libertés et protéger les jeunes en même temps, c'est une bonne idée. La société a reconnaissé les limites dans la Constitution, a assuré tout le monde les libertés. Quand les personnes fassent des défis dans l'école, des personnes qui sont plus agressives après un cours terminé pour le jour, ce n'est pas liberté pour ces personnes.
What's the urgency around this legislation and why in the past the city's challenges? Why do you think this time?
Well, look, I think people's perspective is evolving with the rapid adoption of technology. Obviously, we've seen high-profile instances of artificial intelligence. We're seeing increasingly a generation of young people who were not introduced to social media when they were an adult going through university and into their professional life. We're seeing kids who are, from the moment they're 4 and 5 years old, sometimes younger, growing up with technology attached to themselves. We're seeing a generation of parents, including me, who recognize that there are potential harms for their children in this new environment that didn't exist when I was a kid. And I think it's incumbent upon governments to recognize as society changes, as technological adoption increases, that we are respectful of people's rights, but at the same time that we can make moves to address modern challenges. Anyway, I don't want to be late for a meeting here, but... oh, sorry.
Me neither, me neither. No.
Concernant le TGV, le Parti québécois aimerait retirer le Québec du projet. Je pense que ça aimerait compromettre le projet.
Écoutez, je vais laisser le ministre des Transports s'exprimer là-dessus. Mais je pense que les Canadiens, plus généralement, je pense que les Canadiens comprennent, comme les Québécois, qu'on a des grands projets à faire au pays. Vous savez, on le fait en matière énergétique, on le voit en matière de ressources naturelles. Vous savez, hier, on avait la conférence de Montréal où on avait des investisseurs de travers le monde. Les gens comprennent et les gens sont intéressés par les opportunités au Canada. Alors, il va y avoir des grands projets au pays et je pense que c'est comme ça qu'on va bâtir une économie plus résiliente.
Donc, ça ne compromettrait pas le projet?
Écoutez, sur le projet spécifiquement, je vais laisser le ministre des Transports s'exprimer, mais plus généralement, je vous dirais que le Canada, les Québécois, les Canadiens sont prêts pour des grands projets. On le voit en matière d'infrastructure, on le voit en matière de minéraux critiques. On l'a vu aussi du côté de l'Atlantique, du côté du Pacifique. Et regardez, nos amis allemands sont en train d'acheter notre gaz naturel, les Britanniques aussi. On est en train de voir comment le Canada se positionne comme un acteur clé de la sécurité énergétique au monde. Alors, moi, je pense que les gens sont prêts pour faire de grandes choses au pays.
Le pont Gordie Howe, est-ce qu'on a des détails pour bientôt? Quand est-ce que ça va ouvrir?
Bien, écoutez, c'est une bonne chose. C'est un artère important. Je ne spéculerai pas sur la date ou les conditions d'ouverture, mais ce que je peux dire, moi j'étais ministre de l'Infrastructure à l'époque, c'est une infrastructure stratégique et c'est une infrastructure stratégique pour les deux parties, c'est-à-dire le Canada et les États-Unis, parce qu'on sait que ça serait le plus grand point de transfert en Amérique du Nord. Donc, évidemment, il y a un avantage. Puis, il faut se rappeler que 2/3 des États américains ont le Canada comme première juridiction d'exportation. Donc, moi, je le dis souvent. Moi, ce que j'aime répéter à Washington, c'est que j'espère que vous êtes contents de nous voir parce qu'on est les plus grands consommateurs des produits américains, des services aussi. C'est-à-dire qu'on achète plus des États-Unis que la Chine, le Japon et l'Angleterre combinés. Alors, moi, ce que je vois dans cette équation-là, c'est gagnant-gagnant parce que pour eux, c'est important. On est leur plus gros client. Et du même côté, évidemment, nous, on a une intégration avec l'économie américaine qui est importante.
Est-ce qu'il y a encore quelque chose qui achète dans les négociations avec les Américains pour permettre l'ouverture?
Bien, vous savez, quand on arrive à la fin de ce grand... C'est une œuvre, hein? Moi j'appelle ça même une œuvre. C'est pas juste un pont, c'est une œuvre impressionnante qu'on a su développer avec nos partenaires américains, avec l'État du Michigan aussi. Moi, je pense qu'on devrait le voir comme un élément de résilience. Moi, si j'avais envoyé un message à Washington, j'ai dit on veut avoir une économie plus résiliente en Amérique du Nord, plus compétitive, et certainement des infrastructures comme celle-là, bien évidemment, ça porte vers la résilience, la compétitivité. Bien sûr. Yes.
Why is that a more appropriate way in terms of providing some liquidity support as opposed to just doing something like the Conservatives suggested and maybe having a longer period of time where the fuel taxes will be suspended?
Well, I mean, I'm sure you saw the meeting of the IATA in Rio de Janeiro with Brazil just over the weekend. I think what you've seen is that the price of jet fuel has increased significantly. You're talking, you know, they're expecting this year that might go as high as 70% in terms of increase. So we thought that a targeted, time-limited measure, providing liquidity, by the way, it's a loan, so it's a liquidity program for those who need it and those who want it. Obviously, it's when it's funded by the government, it comes with conditions. There might be some who need it, some who don't need it, some who don't like the conditions. But I think it was very important to provide resiliency. You know, we have been acting to provide resiliency in a number of sectors. Talk about forestry. We've been talking about the auto sector. I think it's important in a country like Canada that we also have a program to ensure the resiliency of the aviation sector.
Would you be open to extending that fuel tax pause?
Well, the fuel tax pause was something, but what you've seen is that in addition to what we did there, and Canada is not the only country, is that what you've seen is jet fuel. Now, I could get technicals in terms of the swap arrangement, in a sense that some people buy fuels at different times. Can they weather the price over the long term? That's the liquidity aspect of it. So we said, listen, those who need it, they'll have the support. Those who don't, you know, will be able to go as they wish. But I think that in terms of liquidity, it was important. As we come to the summer travel, as Canadians rely on the airlines to move across the country and abroad, we wanted to make sure that travelers could rely on our airlines during certainly the summer period and beyond. Merci tout le monde. Merci.
I mean, I just think you got François-Philippe who's like holding court here, so I know people have been waiting years. They can wait a touch longer. I hope we finally Thank you. Look, I can't speak. Obviously, you know parliamentary privilege as well as I do. The law is on the order paper, so out of respect for my colleagues, I can't comment more on it. But I think it's suffice to say that we will take all reasonable measures to make sure kids are safe in this country.
Do you feel more confident?
I think it's obvious why it's a priority. Kids are dying.
What's that?
You can speak broadly about how do you think how do you balance safety? How do you balance safety?
Again, bill's on notice.
That's broad.
I know. You know, when a bill's on notice, I can't comment on it. I'm happy to comment on it. I am happy. Once it's there, it's table. We're happy.
What about the latest CRTC directive? What exactly is the government directing?
I'm going to let Marc Miller on that one. He's
bet
going to.
you are.
Yes. Yeah, he's going to.
I just bet you are.
I just wanted to ask about Mr. Ford in DC. Do you think it's helpful to have him there?
Well, you know, it's always good to have Team Canada talking about the benefit of the relationship and making sure that, you know, we have a number of premiers, business leaders, and, you know, you want voices to bring kind of a Team Canada approach to our discussion, and certainly making sure our friends down south understand that the important nature of that relationship for them as well. You know, we're their largest customer. I always remember that, you know, when I go to Washington, I said, I hope you're happy to see us because we're your largest customer. And I think in that context, putting the emphasis on the positive and say, we're your largest customers, 2/3 of your states needs to have Canada as their first market. So these things are the kind of message you want to see in Washington.
But are you confident that he's doing good rather than harming?
Hi, Minister. I've got to ask you about the public consultations on Billy Bishop.
I answered those earlier, Chris. You were less assiduous than you normally
well,
are.
I come on duty at 11, so I try to have my fingers in every pie, but, you know. So you've answered them assiduously, going through the questions. It's a pretty simple form, you know.
You mean you've been through the questions and you...
It seemed pretty simple, but
yeah.
Is it like a survey?
Well, it's an extremely earnest attempt to get the voices of all those who have an interest in the future of that facility. That obviously includes people of the greater Toronto area, but also those who use the airport, which are by definition people who medevac users, first responders, people in smaller communities. So we want to hear from everyone and get all of the points of view possible.
I mean, medevac has historically been the orange helicopters and turboprops coming in and out of that, right? So that,
correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Why not rush through an online...
Close to the hospitals, though.
Yeah, of course.
Why not rush through an online harms or a digital act like we saw with C5? Why do we need more time to go through this?
It was a very important societal debate, arguably not even a political question as much as it's an issue that deserves to have a very, very serious exchange of views, and you know, there are obviously a lot of very heartfelt opinions on this issue, and the government's going to put forward an earnest attempt to deal with many of the problems that we're well aware of.
I'll just ask you, with your other hat on, last week it looked like the House would rise next week. I understand, you know, the tennis match with the Senate continues. Is it possible we could see your House rising this week?
House is scheduled to rise on June 19th, and government intends to maximize every opportunity it can to get the work of the people done.
Thank you for stopping.